If you are watching this video right now, you are one of two people. Either one, you're like a kid on Christmas morning who's waking up to a bunch of great gifts you cannot wait to open. In other words, you're sitting here looking at dips in prices and you are super, super excited about where crypto is. Or number two, you're waking up this morning and you are freaking out because the markets are so far down. Either way, both of you are asking, is the bottom in for Bitcoin and crypto? And in this video, we're going to go a little bit further into that conversation. So whether you're an optimist or you're a pessimist, watch the video all the way through. I got a lot of thoughts we got to get through on the charts in different news stories. So make sure you go ahead and smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're newer to the channel. But first, we got to roll that intro. All right. Well, let's go ahead and just jump right on into it, into the charts. If you guys, for some reason, slept really heavily last night, you weren't really paying attention to charts, this is the first time you're looking at them. Bitcoin fell last night pretty dramatically. Asia delivers another winner once again, down to $53,392, at least here on Coinbase. Let me go to the daily chart instead of the 2 daily one. We've been talking about this actually yesterday morning during our live show. I said, guys, watch how Asia sells off every single time we go to sleep here in the United States. And sure enough, they did it once again. But why is that? Well, today is the day that Mt. Gox is going to be starting their payouts. This is probably the catalyst of a lot of the crash last night. Mt. Gox moved nearly 47,000 Bitcoin ahead of a $9 billion payout that starts today. We've talked about this now for a couple of weeks as we've been selling off into it, that this has a high possibility of being a sell the rumor, buy the news. Today, we actually start that. I'm not saying necessarily we can't go lower. In fact, we'll take a look here at some indicators that say there is a possibility of a lower price in Bitcoin. But I just wanted to bring your attention before we get there that today is the Mt. Gox payoff starting. Now, let's get into some of these indicators and see what Bitcoin is doing. On the daily chart, you have a case for potentially saying we've done a lot of what we need to do. We've now crossed the second take profit level on Lux Algo sell order. I will say there still is a nice order block sitting down here, a very strong bullish order block. I'll also say down around 50, just above $50,000. If you go to the 2-day chart, there's actually a very, very strong breaker block. And again, a lot of bearish pressure we get lost, actually closer down to $48,000, give or take. Either way, if we were to keep on dropping, these levels are very much something to keep an eye on. But when I come to the weekly chart, I actually now am saying, well, we are sufficing some good stuff out in the weekly chart. People have been saying that the weekly chart wasn't looking good. It was overextended on the oscillators. We probably needed to correct and come back down. Well, we've now come back down to touch the weekly smart trail for the first time. We haven't touched this since way back in September of 2023. You're going to see, again, strong support up here towards 48,000. The bottom of that smart trail coming in right around 50,000. So am I saying the bottom of Bitcoin is in? Not necessarily, but I do think we are getting close. We kind of addressed this on the show now for a little while, saying that even though I thought that 60,000 would end up holding, I said if we start to fall, I'm not even necessarily worried about the prices until we drop below $50,000. And right now, we are still above that level. I'm going to go back to the charts and just kind of remind you guys, it's absolutely crazy. When you look at the charts like this, the way we're freaking out right now is so funny because this is such a bullish looking chart. This is such a minor pullback in the grand scheme of the bull market. But take a look at this metric right here, our Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. It's coming in at 29. This is actually the lowest we have been in a very, very long time. In fact, even though we hit it a couple of days ago around 30, the last time we were majorly at this level was way back in September. Before that, we're talking about January of 2023. Guess what the prices were at those times? September, we're talking about $25,000. January, we're talking about $16,000, $17,000. So right now, despite the fact that the price of Bitcoin is up at $55,000, and in fact, when that when that actually printed, let's actually get very clear here. When that printed last night at 8 p.m., so we're looking at about right here. The price of Bitcoin closed at 57,253. So this fear and greed index of 29 isn't even in response to $53,000. It's actually response to $57,000. What does that tell me? When I come back out here and I'm looking at the macro charts, that is something that is majorly bullish. We have been waiting for the weak hands to leave the space. Not only the weak institutional investors who maybe bought ETFs way up here at $70,000, but even those buying on Coinbase and Binance and Kraken and others. You always have, after big explosive movements, a weeding out effect where the weak-handed, the impatient, the capitulators sell all of their crypto back to the whales, the institutions, and that's the process we're playing out right now. If this was sitting at 45, 50, I would say, uh-oh, guys, we're in big trouble. We probably have a lot further to go. But the fact that we're now dropping more heavily into the fear, despite the fact the price is so significantly higher than it has been in the last couple of years, this continues to be something I look at as being very, very, very bullish. Now, when is the pressure going to stop? Well, it's probably going to be when the end of Germany and Mt. Gox sales, which is likely to be the Bitcoin bottom, according to experts. Let's read some things here in the article. Apologize for my voice, guys. I've been going through it this week with my voice, but I'm pushing through to give you guys the content. It's highly likely that Germany selling 50,000 Bitcoin will mark a bottom. Joe Burnett, a former Blockware Solutions analyst and senior product marketing manager of Unchained, said Friday on Twitter, announcing a sale of this size is idiotic and creates a reflexive feedback loop. Right. So we're talking about the massive amount of money, about $2.4 billion worth of Bitcoin that Germany has that they've been offloading here more recently. That's what he's talking about right here. But even going further into the Mt. Gox stuff, Thursday market drags following a significant transfer from cold storage wallet belonging to Mt. Gox bankruptcy. We cover that back here where they moved 47,000 Bitcoin. Selling pressure will unlikely decrease in the coming days. I don't know why it says unlikely. Is unlikely. Is unlikely. Is probably the right term there. Other un's not supposed to be there, or is supposed to be there. Either way, Rachel Lynn, CEO, co-founder, derivatives, decentralized exchange, Sin Futures told Decrypt, while the market expects most Mt. Gox users to dump their tokens, a bounce could be warranted if selling is lower than anticipated. Now, this is something we've kind of flirted with on the channel here before, and I've even talked about it earlier in this video. Yes, Germany is selling. Yes, Mt. Gox is coming, and it's going to be paying people back that have not seen that Bitcoin for over 10 years. However, the price of Bitcoin has just been dropping dramatically ever since we received this news. In fact, we've got both of the news, both the Germany news and the Mt. Gox news, somewhere here earlier in June when Bitcoin's price was just below $70,000. Since then, we have dropped, again, since this news was released, we have dropped 20%. In anticipation. We're not even dropping because Germany has sold a bulk. They've sold millions dollars worth of Bitcoin, but they haven't sold even a decent size of what they currently hold. And Mt. Gox is going to be giving back $9 billion. That gives us a possibility if all things work out negatively, if everything goes wrong, if literally Germany sells all $2 billion worth of their Bitcoin, if all of the $9 billion of Mt. Gox returns, if they all sell, yes, Bitcoin is going to have a problem. It's going to be dropping the downside. In fact, that's the kind of stuff that I think could bring us back down. I said yesterday, my kind of line in the sand is $30,000. If we lose $30,000, I have some genuine concerns about the bull market. That's the kind of dips. If all of that happened, we're talking about over $11 billion worth of Bitcoin, and there's no major buying happening. Yes, that is the kind of situation that could drop the Bitcoin price down towards $30,000. Anyone who's saying, well, Tim, $11 billion. That's not a big deal when you're looking at a $1 trillion market cap. That's not the way prices work. Yes, Bitcoin is sitting still, despite the negativity, still over 1 trillion. But when you're looking at the market cap, this doesn't necessarily mean there's been $1 trillion worth of Bitcoin bought. It actually has a lot to do with volume, with demand. And when you get that large of a dump, if we were to see, again, $11 billion in a short time frame be sold, and there's no major buyers to scoop it up, it's going to be much more of a hit to the market cap than 11 billion. In fact, it probably would be pushing closer to $200 billion of market cap loss. Still not going to crush the Bitcoin price into oblivion to set new lows, but it's something that's very major. That being said, the anticipative moves that have already happened in this time frame is something that I think is still leading me to believe this is a sell the rumor, buy the news type of event. There are people actively in the German government trying to urge the rest of their parliament to stop selling Bitcoin. It's absolutely stupid to be selling this asset when long-term it could be the solution to their economic problems. And I also told you, when it comes to Mt. Gox, I'm still going to stick to this. I personally do not believe the majority of Mt. Gox returns will be sold. In fact, all of those investors, the people that lost money back in 2014, 10 years ago, when Bitcoin's price ranged between $100 to $1,000, they have sat on the sidelines. They probably bought Bitcoin somewhere else, but they have watched the up and to the right movement of Bitcoin. They've watched Bitcoin go parabolic. They're long-term holders. They're long-term people. They see the long-term future as well. My guess is this is one major FUD capitulation move, once again, to get rid of all of the weak-handed people so that the whales and the institutions can buy the dip. Let me know, though, in the comments what you think. But again, I'm seeing, I think there's still potential signs down towards $50,000, maybe even down towards 48. I still think that this is going to be a blip on the radar and that Bitcoin has a lot further to go. But before I go into some other articles I want to read here, I want to address the feelings in the room. And I didn't share my chart for this last part. That's okay. It wasn't that important anyway. I want to echo some feelings in the room. I know there's a lot of people watching right now who are saying, Tim, I hear you, but I'm really scared and I really want to sell. And you know what? There's going to be some other people that would listen to you and say, you know what? Go ahead and sell. Get out of here. We don't want you in the space anyway. I'm not that type of person. I feel you. I hear you. I understand that it is painful to be down. Some of you probably did buy or at least added to your bags up closer to $70,000, thinking that we were about to tear off to 100,000 before the summer. I understand the pain you're going through, but I want you to know when you look at the history of Bitcoin, when you take a look at how these things have played out, this is something we have seen time and time again. The reason this is painful, it's not even that big of a drop when you really think about it. Bitcoin only down right now 27%. If it goes to 50, we're talking about 31%. That is nothing compared to the history of past dips in Bitcoin during bull markets. We've seen in 2021 or the 2020 and 2021, we saw multiple pullbacks of 54%. We saw another one here even before the COVID pandemic. We saw a 54% pullback back in 2019. We saw in a very quick time frame right here in January of 2021 over a 30% pullback, right? So these things have happened before. They are meant to discourage and to scare the average retail investor, and that's exactly what you're feeling right now. It has been a long couple of months since we hit $73,000. March to right now in July, we're talking about 3.5 months. It's scary. I get it. You're worried, but when you look at the history, I urge you to continue to be strong-handed. I urge you to think the way the whales and the institutions are thinking, because they're looking at this and licking their lips at the opportunity. And they love the fact that people right now are all over Twitter. They're all over the news. They're calling for the bear market to resume. That's exactly what these institutions and whales want. It's all a part of their game. I want to go through some tweets and encourage you on what I'm looking at right now. Some great stuff being put out last night. Let's start off Kyle Chassis, one of my favorite follows here on X. Let's freaking go. He posted a chat here, kind of just talking about the norms of what happens in these markets. Let me actually see if I can full screen this. Maybe it's a little bit better for you guys. There's these periods of time after the bear market comes in, after the bottom of the bear market, there's these long extended periods of time that get explosive price action almost on the dot when we have a US election. Yes, you see a slow rise in price, but take a look at almost every single time when Bitcoin's price really shoots up and to the right. These blue lines, those are the presidential elections. I still think we potentially go higher than this before, but even if we have to wait until November for Bitcoin to explode, it would keep it right on pace with historically what Bitcoin is doing. Keep moving on. Will Clemente, another great follow on X, tweeted last night, the flip side of a panic around Mt. Gox, Germany, Silk Road, Bitcoin coming on the market is that come late Q3, Q4, guess what happens there? Election season. With seasonality, election liquidity, presumably on crypto side, there will no longer be major supply overhangs that have been looming over the markets for years. I told you guys, even though we're talking about right now, Mt. Gox, Mt. Gox and Germany, the FUD that's happening that came in earlier in June, this was always going to have an end date. In fact, this bearish pressure that's been hanging over our heads, Mt. Gox for 10 years, Germany for a couple of months, once it's gone, it can no longer hurt us. And so that's what I think we're watching for. We're watching for the end days of that bearish pressure. But what else is out there? Mt. Gox has loomed over our heads for 10 years. Once it goes through and is officially over, no longer can people use that as the excuse to drop the price. So what Will's kind of getting in here is, yes, price is down, but it's removing all of the unwanted fluff in the space. And we're close. I'm not saying we're at the bottom yet, guys, but I'm saying we're close. If you can hold on just a little longer, the payoff will be sweet. Let's keep going on. The Bitcoin therapist tweeted out, he actually retweeted a tweet from Honey Badger. Never heard of Honey Badger, but I do follow Bitcoin therapist. Biggest liquidation event since the FTX collapse. You guys can see on the charts here, the last time we had this much liquidity was way back at FTX. I want to pause on that, though, because this is actually something that led to a bear. Now, I follow bears, guys. I follow people that I disagree with. I highly advise you do the same. This guy is Jacob King. Also, I think he's gone a whale watcher, historical bear. Talking about, even in this thread, he talks about his buying range is $4,000 to $6,000. All right, so that just tells you what kind of bear he is. He's been telling people to sell since the price was at 30,000, right? But now all of a sudden the Bitcoin's down 27%. He's feeling really, really strong, saying more Bitcoin long positions have been liquidated this week than any other week in the entire history. Let's think about that, guys, for just a second. He thinks that that's actually something that should scare you. He thinks that that's something that should make you feel bearish. What I want to tell you is that is actually such a strong case for bullish action. Guys, if we are sitting at 55,000, a price level that we have spent in the grand scheme of Bitcoin's entire existence very little time at, a couple of months in early 2021, a couple of months in late 2021, and only a couple of months here in 2024, and yet it has the highest amount of liquidations, and we're still this high, that is a sign of how mature and how strong the Bitcoin bull market is. But even more so, let's take a look at the liquidations chart, because this is obviously what people are screaming about. Do we have some interesting liquidity that goes down to 50,000, maybe a little bit lower than? Yeah, we do. But where's the majority of the liquidity that the long positions had? That if the whales and the institutions and the expert traders were going to try to attack Bitcoin and remove a lot of longs, where was the position that they had the best opportunity, and then it starts to slow down? Oh yeah, it was $55,000. Where do we have to the upside, though? Heavy liquidity back up at 76. So this last move, I'm not saying we can't drop down and hit 50 as well, but take a look below. There's not a lot of reasons to go below. And we're looking at the 6-month chart right here. This is a very zoomed out perspective. We just took out the most and majority of the Bitcoin liquidations for long positions. Could we go a little further? Yes, but the majority of it is done. These things that people are talking about, saying that we should be freaking out because of this liquidity, no, that's actually saying the worst of it is over. We only have upside to come. I can't wait till this afternoon. We're going to talk a lot more about altcoins. Come back at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're talking about altcoin liquidations and altcoin charts, because a lot of coins yesterday did some prices I told you guys should be looking for. I even started to lose faith they would go down that far, and yesterday was a godsend as they dropped. But the point is, people are going to FUD. The space is going to FUD. They're going to try to convince you to sell your Bitcoin. But when you look at these charts, when you look at the history, when you think about even the news that everyone is using to be bearish, the fact is its days are numbered of affecting the market. And after those days are done, it's nothing but upside from here. So I encourage each and every single one of you. I'm not giving you financial advice, but continue to be strong, continue to hold fast. It's those who risk and it's those who stay patient who reap the rewards. If you freak out and respond to every single emotion that pops into your head, investing might not be the game for you. You might want to go ahead and hang it up right now. But here's what I'll tell you. Let's just say I'm wrong, everybody. I'm going to close this video out. If I'm wrong, and crypto ends up crashing into a bear market, does that mean I'm going to sell and capitulate? No, because guess what? I've seen fiat currency. I've lived on this earth for 30 years. A lot of you guys have lived longer. You have seen the demise of fiat currency in the United States and in other countries as well. That is not an answer. If your thoughts are, well, crypto's not the answer, well, what is the answer then? I almost look at currency as crypto is the last hope. It's not the last hope for my life. That I give to Jesus. I'm very glad I don't have to worry about this world for much longer because I have a future. But as far as money is involved, if you're worried about money and you're freaking out about crypto right now, what's the other solution? The dollar's not the fix. We have to depend upon crypto. I have to be all in on crypto because if it goes down, the whole world's going down. Money is going down. We'll have much bigger problems than crypto if crypto starts to fall. That's my closing thoughts for you guys. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button, hit subscribe. I'll see you guys today at 3 p.m. Adios.